That's related.
But what you've got to do is to tell the story about the cottage, Mum.
Yeah.
That's what they want you to do.
That's myself.
This is at the cottage, yeah. Well, that's
Yeah,
at the
there's the cottage.
There's the cottage. And how
There's-
long were you there?
Now
at
there's
the
Dad
cottage?
and I at the cottage.
How long were you at the
About
cottage?
2.5 years.
Now, what year do you remember, Mum,
Yeah.
that you went there as a young lady with one little baby, was it, or
Yeah.
two?
No, just you.
Just me,
Yeah.
yes. And tell me now, how did you get your water in the cottage?
Oh, and the pump. See where the pump is?
You got the pump?
Right. We've got one here, haven't we?
Yeah.
But you are. No, you can't hardly see the pump there. There's you, that's beautiful, that is.
Of me sitting on the bush with all my curly hair.
How old were you then?
I was 3
3.
years of age.
You look like Fiona's daughter.
Yes, I did, yeah.
It's an odd thing to do.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is it. It's this cottage here.
Here's the cottage, there's
Yeah,
the
that's
cottage.
it.
Yeah.
This cottage here, which is this. Are you doing it?
Yeah.
This cottage here, which is this. This is where my husband, Bob Charles, and myself,
Alison Charles.
here, we went there in 1943, and that's him standing outside the door of the cottage, and this is me sitting on the gate there, which led into the field.
How old were you then? How old would you have been about?
I was, it was 44.
At 28, 29, I was 3.
Well, Anthony's 61.
Mm.
So there you are. I had him when I was expecting Anthony then. So actually, it was 61 years ago. Okay?
Yeah.
And this is the cottage in the distance here. And that outhouse there, we had a big boiler in where we filled it up with water from the pump, and we put a fire underneath to get it hot. Then we had a long tin bath, full length, where we used to sit in and have our bath and take it in turns. And then here,
Lucky was the one who went in first.
yeah, and here is the pump where we used to get the water from, it to put in the cottage. And in the cottage it was tilly lamps and a big black range. And in the little ante-room, like a kitchen, we had a couple of primuses, the old ones where you have to pump up and they would light up. And that's the way I did my cooking. And here's Bob with his bicycle taking Diane to a place called the Mill, where they sold lovely tarts and bread and all that sort of thing. And then
And I used to sit, how did I used to sit on Dad's bike?
you should sit on there, didn't you?
On the sides, but in the front, didn't
Yeah.
I didn't sit on the back.
No,
Yeah.
you sat on the crossbar.
Yes, yeah, I
You
did.
used to sit on the crossbar. And here's little Diane walking down the path as though she owns it, so important. And here again, she's on a swing in the garden, which is a Dolly's cot, turned upside down, and it's used as a seat. And these big apple trees were where Bob used to go up in the September, and he used to gather these apples, which were Blenheim orange, and they were this big, and he used to pick them all and serve them to the Met, the officers' Met, and our rent was just over £1 a week, and for 6 months these apples he sold covered the cost of the rent. So that wasn't bad, was it?
Oh, he was always industrious, wasn't he,
Yeah, he
Grandad?
enjoyed it.
And what
Yeah.
did you used to do? You used to go over the field to the farm,
Yeah.
and what did you used to buy there?
Oh,
You used to take me, and we used to go along.
Yeah, and we used to go round to the farm there, and what was it, the lady,
Mrs. Lowry.
Mrs. Lowry, and she used to let us have their lovely butter and eggs and what
you
was it,
couldn't-
mushrooms.
And you couldn't get hold of butter and eggs in the war
Yeah.
because it was all rationed. But
Yeah,
Mum was
it's
lucky.
Absolutely wonderful.
what-
And then we used
She
to
had
go.
her hair all round in plaits, all
Yeah.
like earphones, didn't
She
she?
did.
Black hair tied back all round like that.
Yeah, in what they used to call them years ago, earphones. That's what they used to call them. And after we visited this very nice lady's house, the cottage, and that's the lady today that owns the old
Wait a
rectory
minute, Mummy,
cottage.
you've jumped now.
What?
You were going to say about Dad being a squadron leader
Oh yeah,
in the RAF,
yeah,
and you're going to
okay.
show the picture of the RAF station.
That's right.
Yeah, you talk about the...
Where have I put that?
there it is, it's here behind you. This here,
Oh, that's it.
yeah.
Yeah, and when Dad was in the RAF, this is the headquarters where it's only a little lane up towards
Have you
the
seen that?
headquarters
Yeah.
there. And then what we used to do, we used to go to all the RAF do's, and we had salmon and all wonderful food because the war was on, but they were fighting for the country. And also one day Dad come home, Bob came home, and he said, they always said they want our little girl Diane to be a mascot for the WAPS 5 years in the war. And what they did, the tailor made Diane a little WAP uniform.
Yes, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And she had to speak through the, it was a big do in a hangar, hundreds of
I
WAF
can remember it as if it was
Can you
yesterday.
really?
I can remember
Standing on
practicing
the
with Dad.
stage.
He used to have a handle of a brush
Yeah, that's
with
right.
a tin, a tobacco
That's
tin,
right, he
and
did.
telling me to say,
Yeah.
"Oh, happy
Yeah,
birthday, Wax."
yeah,
And I used to do this lovely. I was
Yeah,
only
yeah.
3.5,
I know.
and at the time of the show,
Yeah,
I was on the stage.
yeah. And all the bright lights on
And
you.
there were all these women, all
All
these
these
people
eyes and men.
looking at me everywhere.
Yeah.
The whole, it was in a hangar, and
Yeah,
an aircraft hangar,
Don't
and
you
all the
remember
room was
that?
full, and I
Yeah.
couldn't speak.
no.
And Dad said,
Yeah.
happy birthday, no wops.
That's right.
But what I remember at that party,
Yeah.
and it really frightened me,
Yeah, I know.
I remember,
Well, it's like
Father-
a year younger
Yeah.
than Sam.
yeah, Father Christmas came down the chimney, and there was all glowing hot
Fire.
lights like a fire, and I was worried to death in case Father Christmas got burnt.
Yeah.
And also they had another mascot there.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah, it was a great big
Yeah.
duck, goose
A
with
goose.
with a big bow on,
That's
wasn't
right,
it?
big
Yeah,
pink
and it
bow.
was walking around in front with everybody.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, in that where Dad was, he eventually became, as you can see, squadron leader, which he was very pleased about because it meant far more money for our nest egg for when he came back from the war. And also we visited, where was it, some castle, not Lincoln, what's another place near it? Anyway, in these grounds, there's a picture here that I took of Bob walking over 60 years ago. And this year of 2005, I'm in the same spot with this picture in my hand of over 60 years ago. Now that's a long, long time ago, isn't it? Oh, and also there's a picture here of Bob in his uniform, but that was in our garden at Penarth, and I've still got that uniform in where I live now. So there we go.
And he still fitted in it, although it was how many years ago?
Well, 60 years ago.
I know, he could still fit in his uniform,
Yeah,
even though during that time,
yeah,
when he was in the board, electricity board, he
got-
went from a
Yeah.
slim man to a fairly tubby man. So he took up golf,
yeah,
didn't he?
yeah,
To have exercise because he was at his desk or in the car all the time.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah.
and then, what did he do then? He lost weight
Yeah.
and he managed to get into his
That's
uniform
right.
again.
Absolutely.
Like playing golf.
Yeah. And here we are. This is in the Old Town Gardens Park. Was when he was in the home, but Chris and I used to go and fetch him in the car and bring him to Old Town Gardens, which is a lovely park, and we'd have a cup of coffee or tea there. So that was lovely. Now, anything else, Diane?
Oh, and Dad used to play the piano, and one of his favourites was
Oh, yeah.
The Entertainer.
Yeah, The Entertainer.
Yeah. And The Dream of Alwyn and the Warsaw Concerto.
That's right, all those.
Yeah.
And here's a lovely picture of Diane and I. This is at
Hubbard
Hubbard
Hills.
Hills.
Near Hereford.
Yeah, where we were by this little stream there.
Yeah.
And this is another picture of Dad. This is at the Ridgeway in Swindon, a lovely area, and there he was in the home then, but we used to fetch him out up this lovely walk. Oh, and that's Bob when he was in business in the he left it,
Poland he went to that, that
went to Poland.
for that, what do you call
Yeah,
it, convention, symposium?
Yeah, he used to go all over the continent to symposiums, and he'd stand on the rostrum and talking to all the people like a place like Albert Hall almost, and they'd all these Continentals sit there with their earphones on, with the language being translated into German, French and all sorts, which he loved. He loved doing that because he used to say that with public speaking he could get all the eyes of the people looking at him, and he'd hold it there.
But there is another story here.
What's that?
Grandma Charles, Dad's mother, used to do elocution, and
Yeah.
she used to do public speaking
Yeah.
and recite poetry on the stage. So this is where this has come from.
Here's Grandma Charles.
And here's Grandma Charles. Grandma Charles
Yeah.
there.
Mm.
Amy.
Yeah.
Amy Charles. Amy Rose Charles.
Amy Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we went to Poland twice and Venice twice, all to these big symposiums.
And what did the Greeks do when you went to Greece?
Oh.
The bank.
Yeah. Well, we stayed at the beautiful hotel, which was owned by the Greeks, who were coming to Newport, Wales, to build the steelworks.
The Lanwern.
And they wanted it by the dock so they could transport the steel to other countries. And they entertained us. Dad went and I did to Athens, wasn't it?
Athens, yeah.
Yeah, and we stayed at the hotel which the bossman
Cipriani.
owned,
Yeah.
and we stayed. It's absolutely beautiful. And then that same summer we went to Corfu and stayed at the hotel that they owned as well, the Marbella Beach at Corfu. Absolutely wonderful. And also when
They
we
took you around the
and
islands
his
on
brother,
their
this
speedboats, didn't they?
fellow's brother, the chief of this Greek company, his brother was the what they call it, the Bank of Greece.
Yes, he was head of the Bank of
He
Greece.
was head of the
His
Bank.
name was something Apopopoulos, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it's an odd name. So that was
Greek
like, yeah. So that's how my life went on, which was a very, very happy life, to be truthful. And then poor Dad had to go in a home because I couldn't look after him anymore. And this was the last picture I took of him about 6 weeks before he died. Yeah,
So we look,
he looks poorly, doesn't he?
he does. He doesn't look. He looks.
Yeah, tired.
He always used to be. Whenever you saw him, he never moaned. He was always
Never.
smiled and lovely to see you, and
Yes,
always had
you
a
know,
nice smile on
They
his face.
said that he was the nicest man they'd ever had in the home, because he was always so content and happy, and whatever they did, he said, "Oh yes, all right, I'm okay." And whenever I walked in, and he'd be at the table, he'd see me immediately and wave. He got his senses like that. Yeah. So there we are. So last year was our 65th wedding anniversary, and that was 2004. All those years.
June the 24th it was.
June the 24th, yeah. So that's a nice life story. And yeah, and I'm very happy and contented. He's left me with a nice home and a bit of money, and also I have a lovely family. Cry.
And also, you've been very generous, haven't you, with your grandchildren?
Well,
Yeah, and you've all given something so that they can do something extra with their lives.
well, I could have gone out and bought rings.
You could have done it.
Why not?
Why not?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, better to have it now.
I know. Stop
But he
it
might
now.
have a bit
Okay.
more.